Thanks so much for joining us on The Bright Side. We are talking about peptides and skin lightening and eye health and bone health. We left off yesterday on The Bright Side talking about the deluxe form of vitamin E, tocotrienols, as opposed to the lesser deluxe, I guess you'd say, less expensive version of vitamin E, the tocopherols, which are the kind of vitamin E that you'll find in most vitamin E products. Tocotrienols are really not found in a lot of products. They're kind of the new kid on the block, even though we've known about them for about 30 or 40 years now. They're sort of the new kid on the block. They're getting a lot of press these days, at least in the world of nutrition journals. The trade journals are all talking about tocotrienols. They're still not in the mainstream press yet, although I did see a couple of articles on CNN about tocotrienols, and tocotrienols actually made the news last week as far as helping with Alzheimer's disease and brain health issues. All vitamin E will do that for you, but tocotrienols are even more powerful when it comes to antioxidation than tocopherols, and that's where this anti-pigmentation issue comes in. Tocopherols will help you with pigment, but tocotrienols will really help you with pigment. That's because tocotrienols, the deluxe form of vitamin E, in addition to being able to suppress the oxidation, the rusting, if you will, of melanin, tocotrienols can actually suppress the activity of the enzyme that makes the skin dark. So they got two benefits there, two effects. The tocotrienols can actually have an antioxidant effect, and then they can have an enzyme inhibiting effect, which is completely separate. That gives them super duper skin lightening properties, and that makes them as effective, probably, or at least close to as effective, as the gold standard of anti-pigmentation of skin lightening products, and that's something called hydroquinone. Hydroquinone is really nasty stuff, as well as it does work. It sure does work. It is the gold standard of skin lightening products, and it's pretty much only used in prescription skin lightening products because of its toxicity. There's still some products that you can get over the counter that have hydroquinone in them, but they're typically at a very low concentration. To really get hydroquinone benefits, you got to go into prescription strength, and that's usually 4% or 5%, although I was making a 10% hydroquinone product in my pharmacy. That was really toxic stuff, although I have to say it did work pretty well. If you were to eat the same amount of hydroquinone as you apply on your skin, you get really, really sick. That stuff is super, super nasty. In fact, it's actually banned, I believe, in Europe, or it's going to be banned in Europe, hydroquinone. If you want skin lightening, that's the stuff, but man, it sure is nasty stuff. And the bottom line is if your skin is pigmenting inappropriately, you've probably got something going on in your biochemistry. We'll talk about that here in a second. Tocotrienols can lighten the skin. They lighten the skin in a non-toxic fashion. And in addition to the anti-pigmentation effects, the skin lightening effects that you're going to get from this super, super essential vitamin, tocotrienols, you're going to be able to thin your blood, you'll have better circulation, you'll improve heart health in general. Tocotrienols are also very important for the brain, and it's all non-toxic. Now, that is my kind of skin lightener. Why would you mess around with hydroquinone, a toxic drug, when you can use tocotrienols, which, if they're not as effective as hydroquinone, they still have a pretty nice skin lightening effect. And on top of their skin lightening benefits, the skin lightening benefits that you'll get from the tocotrienols, you'll also get heart health benefits, blood health benefits, and you'll also get brain health benefits too. That's a really neat skin lightener. And you're not going to find tocotrienols in very many foods. Palm oil is probably the best food source of tocotrienols. There's a little bit of tocotrienols in rice bran, grains in general, oats, barley. They'll get you some tocotrienols as well. But if you really want to take advantage of tocotrienols for your brain, for brain health, for Alzheimer's, for dementia, for skin lightening, for heart health, for circulatory system health, you're really going to want to supplement with tocotrienols. And you can pretty much find them at your favorite nutrient supplier or nutrient supply store, internet, wherever you buy your nutrients, your supplements. All right, in addition to oxidation, rusting, two other major causes of hyperpigmentation, of darkening of the skin, are the stress hormones cortisol and estrogen, and then perhaps a lack of intake or lack of absorption of antioxidant nutrients. Those are the three big reasons why our skin pigments. Number one, it's stress hormones, cortisol and estrogen. And, cortisol, number one, estrogen, number two, and number three, oxidation. And that can involve deficiencies in intake of antioxidants or also absorption if you have some kind of digestive problem. There's a very close relationship between the formation of blotchy skin, of dark spots, hyperpigmentation, melasma, whatever you want to call it. There's a very close relationship between this formation of pigment, inappropriate formation of pigment, and the generic stress response. This is really important to understand. Nature has designed the body so that when the body is under stress, an entire constellation of effects will occur in the body. Hypertension will occur when the body is under stress. And keep in mind, when we talk about stress, I'm not just talking about emotional stress or mental stress. This is what we think of when we hear the word stress. Stress is almost like a cliche in our culture. Oh, you have too much stress. Stop stressing so much. Why are you stressing like that? We always think of emotional stress and mental stress, but we don't often think of physiologic stress. Insulin, for example, is a physiologic stressor. Sugar is a physiologic stressor. The wrong kind of food is a physiologic stressor. The wrong kind of food creates the same kind of stress response that a saber-toothed tiger did on the African savanna 10,000, 12,000 years ago. If saber-toothed tigers lived on the African savanna, I'm not sure if they did or not, but whatever. The same kind of stresses that the body grew up with, survival threats, the same kind of stress response occurs when we have a digestive problem, or when we have a blood sugar problem, or when we have an oxygen problem, or when we have a circulation problem, or when we have emotional or a mental problem. All of these kinds of stresses initiate the same kinds of responses in the body. This is so important. This is the key to all disease, people. This is the key not only to all disease, but it's also the key to recovery. And I'll tell you what I mean when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. Our number's 855-660-4261. Got a couple lines open for you. We'd love to hear from you. 855-660-4261 if you want to contribute to the conversation or if you have questions about health or nutrition. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. And we'll be back after this. All right. 855-660-4261 is our number. Got a couple lines open for you. Try to get on board here early, and we'll get to as many calls as we can. 855-660-4261. Before we went to break, we were talking about the stress response, the idea that the stress response is generic in the body, and it doesn't matter if you have the stresses, if the stress is coming in from your dysfunctional family, from the government, from your neighbors, from your kids, from your boss, or from your pending divorce, or from your digestive problems, or your blood sugar problems, or whatever. Emotional stress, mental stress, physical stress, the body responds to all of these kinds of stresses the same way, with a constellation of symptomology. A constellation meaning different symptoms that all occur together as a constellation of symptoms. And they all occur together because the stress response is a generic response. It's one thing. The stress response includes high blood pressure. It includes coagulating, clotting, sticky blood. It includes anxiety and jitteriness. It includes insomnia. It includes immune problems, immune suppression or a hyperactive immune system. It includes fluid retention. It includes fibroids and cyst formation. It includes improper cell growth and improper cell division. It includes inflammation. It includes accelerated aging, and it includes pigmentation. Everything that goes wrong, people, in the body. Everything that we call a degenerative disease is a manifestation of the stress response. This is so important because it's where our power lies. You're not going to hear this from your doctor. In fact, the medical model promotes remedies, promotes treatments, promotes cures, if you will. They're not cures, but treatments that actually further burden the body. This is the utter stupidity of the medical model in a nutshell. The way it treats these diseases, so-called degenerative diseases that are a manifestation of the stress response, is by putting more stress on the body. Certainly shutting down the symptom so we don't have to see it's there, but further burdening the body. There's no way to know how many people die early deaths because of prescription drugs. There's no testing for it. We can only assume because these things are poisons. They deplete the body's detoxification chemicals. They deplete the body's nutrients. They deplete the body of antioxidants. They deplete the body of glutathione. They deplete the body of B vitamins. They deplete the body of sulfur. They burden the liver. This is all the remedies. This is all the things your doctor's doing. This is all the things the medical model is doing to supposedly take care of the problem. I talked to a gal this morning. Her dad had a heart problem, a stroke, I believe it was. So what did the doctor do? He put the guy, the 73-year-old guy who just had a stroke, he put him on 3 separate beta-blocking drugs that suppress the circulatory system, drugs that burden the heart, burden the liver, drugs that shut down the cardiovascular system. This is a guy who just had a stroke, and what's the medical model do for this guy? They put him on drugs, nasty drugs, beta-blocking drugs, blood-thinning drugs that further stress out the body. And this is the problem with how we deal with health. It should be so obvious. Once you understand how prescription drugs work, once you understand the body's response to prescription drugs, once you understand the link between prescription drugs and stress and the link between degenerative disease and stress, it doesn't make any sense, people. It's craziness. Pigmentation is a classic example of the stress response, hyperpigmentation, inappropriate pigmentation, blotchy skin. That means that if you have blotchy skin, you've got some kind of burden on the body. And yes, you can use hydroquinone, you can use topical remedies, and I'll tell you a few topical things that you can do, but it doesn't take care of the burden that is going on in the body, the stressor that's going on in the body. When you're dealing with an emotional, mental, or physiologic stress, blood sugar stress, digestive stress, whatever kind of stress, any of the generic stress response symptoms are possible. High blood pressure is possible. Blood clotting is possible. Insomnia and anxiety and jitteriness and depression are possible. Fluid retention, fibroids are possible. Certainly wrinkles and accelerated aging and thinning skin are possible. In fact, likely when you are dealing with some kind of stress response. And it turns out that the hormones that help the body deal with stress, cortisol and estrogen especially, are also linked to hyperpigmentation. If you are hyperpigmenting, if you're darkening, if you're getting these dark spots in an inappropriate fashion, you can rest assured there is some kind of stress stimulus activating it. And the most important thing you can do is eliminate stressors. For 1, digestive stressors. For 2, blood sugar stressors. And for 3, cortisol and estrogen. What do you do for cortisol? What do you do to reduce cortisol? Well, the first thing is stabilize your blood sugar. In fact, the number one reason why we have elevated stress hormone cortisol, the number one cause is changes in blood sugar, hypoglycemia, dysfunctional blood sugar, or dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar. Dysglycemia just means messed up blood sugar. It's the biggest culprit when it comes to jacked up cortisol. And when your cortisol's jacked up, everything falls apart. Everything. A little bit of cortisol, by the way, will actually put you in a good mood. A little bit of cortisol is a good thing. But when cortisol stays high, as in when cortisol is chronically elevated, when it stays high, and this is what's happening to most of us as we get older, our cortisol levels rise. It's part of our aging process. It doesn't have to be, but it is. The number one reason is dysglycemia, hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, messed up blood sugar. What do? More protein, less refined flours, and stay away from insulin-spiking foods, cereals and fruit juices and pastas and breads and refined products of all kinds. And then use blood sugar stabilizing nutrients, vitamins B1, B3. Get on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. It's one of the most powerful blood sugar stabilizing supplements you can ever take. Folks, if you have diabetes or any kind of blood sugar issues and you're not on that Beyond Tangy Tangerine, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? It's crazy, folks. It's $50 a canister. Taurine, amazing for lowering, stabilizing blood sugar. Saturated fats stabilize blood sugar. Protein and saturated fats, butter or coconut oil should be part of all of your meals if you've got blood sugar issues, in addition to the B vitamins, in addition to the micronutrients, in addition to the sweeties, the chromium, vanadium, and magnesium. All of these are wonderful ways to stabilize blood sugar and help you out with your cortisol and pigmentation as well. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. We are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thank you for being here. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products you hear advertised on The Bright Side, you can head over to my website, brightsideben.com, and click on the Buy Now link. And, of course, if you want to join the Bright Side Ben team for a one-time $10 fee, click on the Join the Team link or call the Bright Side Ben phone team at 866-735-2470. Our number on the bright side, 855-660-4261. On our next program, we'll continue talking about this generic stress response and hyperpigmentation, and we'll also tell you about cortisol. We'll continue talking about cortisol and ways that you can lower cortisol, and then we'll talk about the kind of unknown stress hormone, and that's estrogen. Most people don't realize, unless you're listening to this program, because we talk about it all the time, that estrogen is actually a stress hormone. Yes, indeed. It's one of the ways the body deals with stress. So for you ladies who are thinking about going on hormone replacement therapy, you should know that you can mess up your body big time with hormone replacement therapy. And when I say mess up your body big time, I'm talking cancer, I'm talking blood clots, I'm talking thinning skin, I'm talking all kinds of fibroids and cysts, I'm talking all kinds of problems. On the other hand, there's some wonderful anti-progesterone nutrients, and we will tell you what those are as we continue talking about pigmentation, stress issues, and peptides. We're going to also talk about glutamine and glutathione here. We'll do that next week as we continue talking about peptides and good health on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for listening. Time to take our first phone call. Charlie in Kentucky. What's going on, buddy?
And I had two questions for you. I was curious, firstly, about what you thought about cosmetic mole removal, like in a facial area.
Cosmetic what? Second, I didn't hear you.
Like mole removal.
Mole removal. Okay, go ahead. And what was the other?
And secondly, options for topical skin light.
Okay. I was going to talk about topical skin lightening next week, but I'll give you a couple ideas now. Moles are really typically not a big deal, and a lot of things get called moles that aren't really moles. Moles are technically little dark spots, and they can be a sign of cancer if they change color or change shape. That's really what you want to. That's really what you want to be careful of is moles that change color or change shape. Moles are typically benign and they're not really a big deal for the most part. But every once in a while, somebody's going to have an unusual mole, a weird kind of mole, and those are the kind of moles that can develop into cancers, melanomas, and those are the really big problems. If you got a mole and it looks weird, it changes color, it changes outline, it grows, whatever. If it seems to be morphing in any kind of way, that's something that you really want to be careful of. Moles are typically, however, not, for most people, they're not really a big deal. So I wouldn't be messing around with them unless it looks weird in any way. Like I say, it changes color, shape, or anything like that. If it's just a little mole, I wouldn't worry about it. Moles are typically just a pigmented issue. They can be raised or they can be flat, but it's basically just pigment. However, like I say, this is very important. If the change of shape, looks weird, grows larger, whatever, in any kind of way, that's something that you really want to take care of because it can develop into a melanoma. As far as topical skin lightening goes, there's lots of things you could do to lighten the skin topically. But the thing about lightening the skin topically is you're not going to take care of the chemistry that's causing the problem in the first place. So skin darkening, hyperpigmentation, blotchy skin is a sign of, number one, excess cortisol, number two, excess estrogen, and number three, deficiencies in antioxidants, whether it's intaking antioxidants or absorbing them. It could be one or the other. Those are the three main causes of hyperpigmentation. If you want a fourth cause, prescription drugs can do it too. Probably because prescription drugs mess up cortisol and cause an elevated stress response. It's a sign of the generic stress response. Topically, however, there's wonderful things you can do. It's not going to take care of the problem permanently, but you can take care of the pigment that's on the skin in the immediate sense, in the short term. Number one, hydroquinone. That's the gold standard, toxic as it may be. And you need a prescription for the good stuff. Look for 4%. If you really want to take care of it, look for 10%. You'll have to have a compounding pharmacist make that for you. My favorite way to topically address hyperpigmentation or blotchy skin is to speed up the movement of cells, the desquamation of cells, that is the flopping off of cells. Skin cells rise from the bottom to the top. You got skin is made up of layers, and the bottom layer is where skin cells are born, and those skin cells rise up to the top. This whole process is super important. You know, when we look at our skin, it doesn't look like anything's happening, but really there's a lot happening. If you zoom into your skin with your magnification vision and just in your imagination, zoom into your skin, you will see an entire universe of activity. One of the things that's happening is cells are constantly moving from the bottom to the top. And as they're moving from the bottom to the top, they're becoming progressively more dead, if you will, until they reach the very tippy top where they're dead, and then they flop off. Well, as cells are moving from the bottom to the top, that's when the pigmentation occurs. And it's a little bit more complicated than that, but for our purposes here on this phone call, the pigmentation occurs as the cells are moving from the bottom to the top, which means the faster the cells flop off, the faster the cells move from the bottom to the top and then come off. That's called desquamation. The faster they come off the top, the quicker you're going to get rid of that pigment. Does that make sense? You're actually speeding up the removal of the pigmented cells. Does that make sense the way I explained that? I hope I wasn't too confusing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you want to speed up the movement of cells from the bottom to the top. There's wonderful ways to do that. Retinoic acid is probably the best. That's vitamin A cream. And the reason I say it's the best is because in addition to helping speed up the movement of these pigmented cells from the bottom of the skin upwards and then flopping them off, you'll get all the advantages of vitamin A. Antioxidant advantages, anti-wrinkle advantages, improvements in the way cells divide and grow, anti-cancer benefits. It's just a wonderful topical product, and I recommend everybody uses retinoic acid after the age of 35 or 40, even before for some folks, and especially if you're hyperpigmented or if you're darkening. The next thing you could do is you can use alpha hydroxy acids, glycolic acid, lactic acid. These are products that these are ingredients that you'll find in products like cleansers and toners, or creams, lotions. I recommend cleansers and toners with alpha hydroxy acids in them. Alpha hydroxy acids can help speed up the removal of the cells the same way that retinoic acid does. So those are the three best ways, in my opinion, to get rid of pigmentation topically. Hydroquinone, although that is toxic, retinoic acid, non-toxic and very effective, and alpha hydroxy acids, number 3. Now, there's all kinds of skin lightening chemicals, topical skin lightening chemicals that you could use. Kojic acid, vitamin C, licorice extract, mulberry root extract, niacin. All of these can have some skin lightening benefits, but they're not as effective as exfoliating or helping those dead skin cells flop off. That is really the best strategy, in my opinion, for helping lighten the skin. Does that help you?
Yeah, and the retinoic acid, what percent cream?
Retinoic acid is a prescription. It's available in various strengths. The weakest strength is 0.025%. That's 0.125%, or I suppose a 40th of a percent. 0.025. That's the weakest. The strongest is 0.1%, which is 0.1%. Now, if you find a compounding pharmacist, you can have a compounding pharmacist make extra strength retinoic acid, which I personally recommend. But retinoic acid is a little bit aggressive. That exfoliation that it induces, that movement of cells from the bottom to the top, can sometimes cause some irritation if people aren't healthy or their skin's not robust and vigorous enough. So got to be a little bit careful with retinoic acid, but it is super duper effective. Do you have any more questions there, Charlie? Does that help you?
That pretty much does, man. I guess the only thing with the mole removal is, do you find there any benefit in a cosmetic sense, like if you have something on your face or whatever?
Well, hang tight. Let me talk about that when we come back from our break, okay? Rose and Jeff, hang on. We'll get to both you guys when we come back. We do have a line open for you. 855-660-4261 is our number. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll be back after this.
We are the premier independent talk radio network, the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
All right, we're back on the bright side talking to Charlie in Kentucky. Are you there, Charlie? Charles in Kentucky. Charlie?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
All right,
Hi, John.
Good. So as far as moles go, as far as removing them, they basically just cut them out, and it's pretty routine. I mean, you could get some infection, I suppose, but there really isn't many problems associated with the excising procedure, with the cutting out procedure. They can also burn them off. Sometimes they'll cauterize them off, but it's pretty routine stuff. They use laser sometimes to do them as well. But it's not a big deal, not a major surgery or anything. It doesn't even, sometimes they don't even need stitches depending on the depth of the mole or the size of the mole. So it's not a big deal. Is it a real big mole that you have or something?
Not super big. It's just kind of annoying when I shave. And
you might want, if it's annoying like that, you may want to have it removed, excised, or cauterized. But it's not a big deal, and there's no danger to it really, aside from possible infection.
I wonder, is there going to be scarring that would be less tight?
Make sure you get some fat-soluble vitamin, depending on how deep the mole is and how deep they have to go in the excising procedure. You may or may not have an issue with scarring. The best thing to do to prevent scarring is to make sure you're loading up on vitamin C beforehand, and make sure you're using topical fat-soluble vitamin C on the area that they're going to be cutting for maybe a week or two before, and then a week or two after. You might want to throw in some retinoic acid. That can also help prevent scarring before surgery. This is true about any surgeries, by the way. Topical vitamin C and topical vitamin A can both improve the healing prognosis of any kind of surgical cut and help prevent scarring as well. And digestive enzymes, believe it or not, can do it too. Taking digestive enzymes a couple weeks before surgery and then all the way to a couple weeks after surgery can actually speed up the healing time of any surgical procedure. Okay?
Thank you very much, Ben.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, buddy. Have a beautiful day, man. All right, Rose in the US of A. What's up, Rose? How you doing?
Hi there, Ben. Thank you for your kindness. We always love you, and we're learning constantly with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you, as you cannot imagine, and we remember you. You know
Thank you so much.
Amen.
What's going on?
I have a question. You know that I had a total gastrectomy.
Okay.
And I heard you saying the other day, I know the gel caps are good. Now, the other caps are not gel. In a case like me, can I digest something like that?
You have no stomach?
Yeah.
None at all? Nothing left?
I have a pouch. That's how I can live.
You shouldn't have a problem with it. You're not going to, the gel, the benefits of the gel contains, gelatin is actually just collagen, and collagen is 3 amino acids. And gelatin and collagen and those amino acids are very important for rebuilding the intestinal lining. I don't know, you do need to have stomach acid to break those up, and I'm not sure that that's going to be easy for you to do without a stomach.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for that, although I would suspect you're going to have a problem and you're not going to get the benefits. What you might want to do is liquid gelatin. Liquefy your gelatin first. Instead of using the gel caps, you may want to go get some liquid gelatin and stir it up in water and drink it once a day. Gelatin is amazing, amazing stuff. It's an animal product. If you're vegan or vegetarian, once again, you're going to find that you're not.
I do both. You understand? I do. Sometimes I eat less. I don't eat a lot of meat, but I like chicken.
Do liquid gelatin, Rose. Get yourself some Knox Knox gelatin powder and make liquid gelatin and drink it before it sets up.
Now, I have another question.
Sure.
I called somebody, and I sounded like an imbecile. That's an old word.
Okay.
It's not that, I have anatomy and physiology and other science knowledge.
Okay.
And what I'm learning with you, I'm just becoming smarter, I guess.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
But this, I made a comment that was foolish. I asked her about hepatitis, too, because I heard the other day this guest, and he had a caller that advised him to take a vaccine for hepatitis too, and I said, that doesn't sound well. And when I called today, John Moore, I wasn't even thinking, the vaccines were supposed to take, whoever takes them, I don't take them, whoever takes them is prior to the onset of the condition. And what's your opinion
in other words, it's
that?
It's a preventative deal is what you're saying?
No, the person, the person that I called, she's a scientist. He said to take for hepatitis 2, it could be wise to take the vaccines. But then John Moore, he said, that's an opinion that is divided. Some people
that's not my opinion. He's right. That's not my opinion. That's whoever the scientist was. I'd have to talk to her. I don't know who she was, but it's not my opinion. Hepatitis 2, I assume you mean hepatitis B, is it's a bloodborne disease. It's in fluids, basically, blood, various fluids, tears, even urine, and it's a liver. It's a hepatitis. The A, B, C, D, E doesn't matter. It's the hepatitis part that matters, and the hepatitis is an inflamed liver. You got a toxic liver. And when your liver's toxic, what you got to do is you got to protect your liver. That's basically it. Viral infections only occur when the body is weak. We live in a world of viruses. We're surrounded with viruses. There's viruses in our bodies. There's viruses in our skin. There's viruses everywhere. Viruses are really pretty amazing little. They're not even things. Nobody even knows what a virus is, really. In any case, viruses are all over the place, and they're opportunistic in the sense they wait for us to become weak. This is why old people get these diseases, or sick people get these diseases, or people who have immune problems get these hepatitis type diseases. AIDS, remember how AIDS was the big deal? Everybody was all terrified of AIDS. Well, it turns out you only get AIDS if your body if you got some kind of immune suppression, if you're eating the wrong kinds of foods, if you're weakened, if you've got this chronic stress response that we've been talking about. So what do? You don't need a friggin' vaccine. That's crazy. What you need to do is you need to support your immune system. The vaccines only support the people who are selling you the vaccines. I have a big problem with those. I have a big problem with any scientists or medical professionals who encourage vaccines before they encourage supporting your immune system. You got an immune system, use it. You got an immune system, support it. You got an immune system, don't suppress it. Almost everything we do that we can, that's part of our modern 21st century lifestyle, is, on some level, suppresses immunity. So don't do it. Don't eat the corporate crap. Get yourself on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Make sure you're using selenium. Deep breathe. Relax. Don't eat the processed foods and the foods that mess up blood sugar, etc. Rose, I got to move on. I hope I helped you, and thanks so much for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, God bless. All right, only got a couple of minutes here. Jeff in Colorado. What is going on? Where are you in Colorado, Jeff?
The Springs.
Good deal. What's cooking? How can I help you?
Yeah, well, should people be concerned about radiation getting in milk and dairy products? I know my son is quitting.
Radiation is just one of the crappy things that we've done to the planet, among a lot of crappy things that we've done to the planet. And, I get calls about Fukushima, and it's terrible what's happening, absolutely terrible. But you can't sweat it. You can't, because all that's going to do is lower your body's ability to fight things. Get yourself on a good nutritional supplement program. We've talked at length about supplements for radiation. Dairy is a problem. It's not the radiation. The radiation's a problem too, but the dairy's a problem too. Stay off of dairy unless it's raw, unpasteurized. You got a farmer that you can get raw milk from. That's a whole different story. But supermarket milk is not a good food for anybody. Now, the radiation just makes it worse. If you're worried about radiation, glutamine, glutathione, sulfur, vitamin C, we'll talk more about that next week when we talk about glutathione and glutamine. I'm not concerned about radiation in the sense that I don't worry about it on a daily basis, but it's not a good thing, obviously. It's a crappy thing that we have to deal with it. Human beings are the only species that craps in their water and then drinks it. And we crap in the air and then breathe it. This is the stupidity of the human race, and I'm part of it. I'm guilty. I'm a human being, but we just have to live with it. So protect yourself, support your immune system, deep breathe, do all the things we talk about here on the bright side, and you don't really need the milk unless it's unpasteurized and raw milk, and there are some good things in milk if it's unpasteurized and if it's raw. Does that help you, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much. Got to move on, buddy. All right, real quick, Debbie, see if we can get you in here. What's going on?
Hello?
Debbie in Texas. That would be you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear it. There was some fuzziness going on.
Sure. What's going on?
I just appreciate you, Ben. Thank you so much for being on and helping us all.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyway, my eyes are so dry, and I just have to keep blinking to try to feel like I'm clearing off a film or whatever.
How old are you, Debbie?
I'm 58.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean you don't sound happy about that.
Well, I know.
I didn't mean you didn't have
that
to
information.
The reason I asked is I wanted to see if it was a degenerative condition. It sounds like it is. So
now
what happens
I have a white film that's starting to grow on the outside of my iris.
That's not good. That's not good at all. The tears are very important for helping protect the eyes. And if you have a problem with tears, you may have a problem with your tear ducts. You probably have some other stuff going on in your body. Can I get you to call back Monday, because we're just out of time? And I'd love to address this for our other listeners as well. I know a lot of people can benefit from what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Can you call back Monday, Debbie?
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And thanks for the kind words. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, folks, for listening. I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the Facebooks and the letters and the love and support. Thank you so much. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products or join me on the Brightside Ben team, call the Brightside Ben phone team at 866-735-2470. Ask them about joining the team for a one-time $10 fee. You can start yourself a longevity business. Check out my blog, pharmacistben.com. Check out my website, brightsideben.com, and we will talk to you all later. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Bye for now.